We know what's up. Do you know what's up?
I heard about it. And I did see it. And it's a Photoshop.
We say no.
I'm trying to manage expectations. You say no. Oh, you say no.
Andrew Garfield should have won an Oscar because the poker face this werewolf had to keep, knowing the secret was already out, was just transparent enough that we all knew that he and Tobey Maguire would show up in Spider-Man No Way Home. And it worked out so well for the studio that many believe that Sony might have leaked the footage of Andrew Garfield themselves. And I found one piece of evidence hiding in plain sight that could be the smoking gun of this conspiracy. I'm Erik Voss, and this is The Deep Dive, a channel that dives deep into the films we love to expose the hidden truths that we all overlooked. 2 years ago this month was one of the biggest summer game changers in cinema history, a teaser trailer for Spider-Man No Way Home, which released on August 23rd, 2021, a date that I will always remember because it shared the uncanny coincidence of being the month and day marked with a heart on the calendar in WandaVision Episode 1, a series that seemed to be able to read our minds in creepy ways. Spider-Man No Way Home ranks as Sony's highest grossing movie of all time, the 7th highest grossing movie overall, and it arguably saved cinemas from the brink of extinction during COVID. But 2 years ago, the real story of No Way Home was the leaks. The biggest question on everyone's mind was, are Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming back for this film? And since they definitely are, how many photos and videos can we find of them to prove it? This 8K footage of Andrew Garfield on a blue screen set was just so different from any other confirmed leak that we had seen before or since, making it a historic, lingering mystery critical to how all modern franchise movies are made and marketed. So today's Invosstigation, we must discuss, have studios ever wanted leaks to happen? The answer you'll get from Hollywood Studios is no! The Hollywood Reporter explained how studios like Marvel have gotten aggressive with leak prevention in the work from home era, tracking its data, auditing suppliers, and pursuing prosecution against violators. A veteran VFX artist said that he had to go through a whole training course and sign an agreement saying there would be no shoulder surfing, meaning his work area had to be in a dedicated part of the home that is not viewable from the outside world, meaning turn that monitor away from the window in your apartment building. In March of this year, Disney and Marvel took legal action to investigate an alleged leak of a dialogue script for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania that had been posted to Reddit, and the popular Marvel rumor subreddit r Marvel Studios Spoilers shut down in response. However, leaks are also part of a reality that the producers of these projects have begun to accept as inevitable. That Hollywood Reporter article quoted Kevin Feige while he was promoting Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, a movie whose cameos of Charles Xavier and Captain Peggy Carter had leaked ahead of the release, and Feige said, quote, "You need to make sure that the experience itself works regardless of what has been spoiled or not." These are the words of a studio head who knows that it is impossible to maintain complete secrecy around a project, especially when your cinematic universe is populated with goofballs not sure what project they're even plugging. Like there was the infamous moment in July 2017 when Mark Ruffalo leaked the ending of Avengers Infinity War.
You succeed in saving it?
I can't. Can I say it?
No.
I would imagine.
Can I just give him a little taste?
I wouldn't say too much, but you can say as much as I mean, hey, it's your
Let me
career.
just say this, like every other Marvel movie, it doesn't end well for the superheroes. Wait till you see this next one. Everybody dies.
Dude.
Not everybody. No. Is that?
No. Hey, whatever.
Can we rewind that part?
Yeah. Can we? You'll cut that.
That's
part
not.
out.
Am I in trouble?
A little.
Is Barry gonna be mad at me?
Dude, I just move on. I wouldn't try to like.
No, what's that next question? No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would like to meet. It's really interesting because we should.
Mark Ruffalo also accidentally Instagram live streamed the first 10 minutes of Thor Ragnarok at an advanced screening when he forgot to close the app. But other than Ruffalo, Marvel's biggest headache when it comes to leaks has been Tom Holland, of course. While promoting Spider-Man Homecoming, the young Tom Holland slipped in an interview that a trilogy of MCU Spider-Man films had been greenlit.
Homecoming 2 and 3?
Yeah, there'll be Spider-Man 2 and 3. It won't be Homecoming 2 and 3. Yeah.
Almost a scoop because we knew about the second one, but not the third one.
Yeah, well now you know. Now you know. Sorry, Marvel. Whoops. That's out.
And then in April 2018, opening night of Avengers Infinity War, Tom Holland joined the Russo brothers and Kevin Feige in front of a full audience at the ArcLight Cinerama Dome in Hollywood before the movie had begun screening and said this.
I'm alive! See the film, or are you just about to watch it?
I'm about to.
You haven't seen the film.
Don't spoil anything, Tom. Do not spoil anything yet.
Now, fun fact, myself and Deep Dive lead editor Devin were seeing Infinity War that night in the same building at ArcLight Hollywood, and in fairness to Tom Holland, cast and crew are often ushered in and out of LA area screenings and can get a little disoriented, but they almost never appear after a movie screening because the audience would have begun to filter out and it would be pretty hard for theater staff to usher VIPs in discreetly. So after this point, Marvel and Sony began to embrace Tom Holland's big mouth and intentionally marketed announcements in a way that seemed like Holland was leaking them, when really it was part of their plan. Like when he announced the title of the sequel, Far From Home, on a tablet that Holland was holding in his personal Instagram. Clearly that was something they wanted him to do. And then in the title announcement for the third film, No Way Home, in February 2021, they totally played into this in a similar way.
Gave us a fake name again.
Not shocked.
I just don't understand why he keeps doing this.
You don't understand?
Really?
I feel like it's pretty obvious
Yeah.
to spoil things.
I don't spoil things.
Your thing is
Name me
to
one
spoil.
thing that I've actually spoiled.
The last movie title.
Which brings us to summer 2021, when Marvel fans had reached a fever pitch of speculation and gossip and unconfirmed reports that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were going to appear in No Way Home. The movie's first teaser was set to release on August 23rd. These two obviously were not in this teaser, but the day before, an unfinished version of this trailer leaked. And I have never admitted this publicly before, but our channel, New Rockstars, was contacted by someone in possession of this leak. I was not in personal contact with this source. I do not know who it was or how they got it, but I did end up seeing it, and it had the watermark of a major VFX company on it, and I will not name them. But oddly, in the unfinished leaked version of this trailer, in the shot of Peter Parker swinging through Times Square with MJ, on the left side of frame there was a billboard for X-Men. It was clearly a placeholder meant to be swapped out, but it was there, and it was very weird. But the studios took this very seriously, and Sony and Disney pushed to remove this leaked trailer from its online sources. And this was actually one of many leaks for Spider-Man No Way Home in the months before the release. Now, some of these were just innocent interview moments with Andrew Garfield.
Like, they might be doing something. I ain't got a call. Do you ever play the game Werewolf or Mafia? You're convincing everyone that you're not in the Mafia. Like, I feel like I'm in a game of Werewolf or Mafia where I'm like, I'm not the werewolf. And everyone's like, you're the werewolf. You're the fucking werewolf. Look at him.
This was after a Postmates delivery person in Atlanta claimed to have delivered food to Andrew Garfield, which later turned out to be true. So Garfield's statements, plus the August trailer leak, set off a chain reaction. In early September 2021, another leak came out showing a blurry photo of Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man suits on scaffolding on a blue screen set. Boom, smoking gun. But then something really weird happened. Almost immediately after this 8K footage hit the internet, posted to a YouTube channel that has since removed it, but I'm telling you, it was up for weeks. It was only a few seconds long, but clearly it was Andrew Garfield in that same position, but this was way higher quality than anyone had ever seen for a major film leak. But then, shortly after this, a TikTok and YouTube editor named Alex Serrato created a video claiming he deepfaked this 8K footage, and for like a 24-hour period, many people believed him, and that this footage of Andrew Garfield wasn't real, but it just looked really good. Then revealing that he faked the fake, showing his behind-the-scenes process of how he did it. So the original 8K footage was apparently real, or not. Now, it's real easy to forget that human beings did not evolve around an 8-hour workday. Next time you're feeling exhausted after lunch, rather than reaching for a cup of coffee, take a nap and let Manta Sleep help you do it. Manta Sleep makes the world's best sleep masks and functional sleep accessories. Everything they do is fueled by the belief that it's impossible to unlock your full potential if you're not getting an afternoon nap every day. A huge part of Manta's sleep mission is taking a stand against hustle culture with the pro-nap movement. The pro-nap movement is about rejecting counterproductive, nap-shaming corporate BS and reclaiming what should have always been yours in the first place, your vitality. Naps give you energy, focus, strength, and clarity that you don't get when you grind through the afternoon. Naps give you a second morning. No matter how or where you nap, Manta Sleep's got a mask for you. Some have weights, some have a Bluetooth, some are silk. I have got the Manta Sleep Mask Sound, and oh my goodness, it's great. Oh, I'll be back after a quick nap. So to get a Manta Sleep mask of your own, just click the link in the description below and use the code DEEPDIVE to get 10% off your order. We were just back to questioning who uploaded this footage and why, after several weeks, it stayed online, collecting millions of views when Sony had moved so quickly to take down a leaked version of a trailer. One could argue that taking any action at that point would confirm the Andrew Garfield footage to be legitimate, and that would spoil his involvement with the film. But on September 13th, 2021, Andrew Garfield went on The Tonight Show and Jimmy Fallon asked him about about the leak, and Garfield was allowed to respond. He said it was a Photoshop. And I can tell you, having worked on a daily network talk show for 5 years, all questions and answers for these interview segments are firmly agreed upon ahead of time in pre-interviews that include the talent's publicist and often the studio. There is no way Fallon would have been able to ask him that question unless Sony and Garfield's publicist signed off on it. Now, of course, in the weeks that followed, we got more and more clues that Garfield and Maguire were going to be in the movie, including a November trailer that had a Brazilian version that had the lizard recoiling in a shot reacting to something invisible. Andrew Garfield clearly VFX scrubbed out of it. I actually spotted a few other moments where it looks like they were scrubbed out of the footage. And then the big day came in December 2021, No Way Home released, and we all know what happened. And yeah, that leaked 8K shot of Andrew Garfield did appear in the film in this scene.
Never had a web block? Because I run out of webs all the time. I had to make my own in a lab.
Now, several months after this, the amazing folks at the Corridor Crew channel asked a VFX artist who actually worked on Spider-Man No Way Home named Kelly Port. They asked him what happened here, and here was his response.
It's just thousands of people. Like, our visual effects team is by far the biggest team there is, and often the leaks don't necessarily come from visual effects. In this case, I think they did, or an outsourced vendor, I think was where it really came from.
Port explained that the biggest incentive for artists not to leak is that they would lose their jobs and become essentially blacklisted in the industry. He went on to say,
as a studio, when Marvel, Sony sends over a sequence to a visual effects studio to begin work, we call that a turnover. And then when they get that, it's usually sent as a sequence and your name is like watermarked across the whole thing. And that's sort of the preventative medicine, I guess.
He is absolutely right. Watermarking the footage is a common practice, which is why it was so weird that that 8K blue screen footage was released with no watermark. This isn't shoulder surfing like every other leak tends to be. It's not blurry. It's not someone taking out their phone and taking a picture of their roommate's computer screen. Like articles have pointed out that most of the leaks tend to be friends, family, and roommates who just take a picture of something and share it with a friend and then freak out when it goes public. That's not what this was. If this footage was outsourced to a VFX team or to a colorist, it would have been watermarks like all other turnovers are. This was someone in-house with original high definition quality dailies from the set, and it was timed immediately after a more shoulder surfy style image of Toby and Andrew had leaked. So would it have been in Sony's interest to do this? Well, Sony, more than any other studio, has danced with the devil when it comes to leaks, and most of the time they've been victims. In November 2014, Sony was hacked by a group calling themselves the Guardians for Peace, targeting Sony's comedy film The Interview, which mocked North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. In the months that follows, WikiLeaks published over 30,000 documents of internal communications at Sony, which many journalists at the time debated the ethics of publishing, but over the years the dust has settled. And looking back, among the juiciest tidbits to leak centered around Sony's plans for the Spider-Man character. This was late 2014, so there were details about Amy Pascal's meetings with Kevin Feige from earlier that year in April 2014 to reboot Spider-Man in the MCU and Captain America Civil War, and to recast Andrew Garfield. Also leaked were some controversial character traits that Sony had apparently agreed to in a contract in 2011, dictating that Spider-Man must be heterosexual, white, a virgin until the age of 16, not abuse drugs or alcohol, and a number of other weird things. Now, Sony got a lot of heat for this, and it's not clear if they still hold themselves to these standards, especially with all the versions of Spider-Man that we see in the animated Spider-Verse films. But a less controversial but very funny detail from these leaks, one that Sony got mocked for, was this. One executive wrote to Amy Pascal, consulting for The Amazing Spider-Man 2, quote, "A rising trend we see with millennials are the really extreme forms of experimental exercise like Tough Mudder. Millennials will often post NBD on their social media after doing it, as in no big deal, also known as the humble brag, wondering if Spidey could get into that in some way." I know, how do you do, fellow kids? But look, Sony in the years since has clearly had a sense of humor about this, because I never caught this before, but there is a subtle joke in Spider-Man No Way Home that references this. Check it out.
Well, I got Connors. I've already cured him once, so no big deal. Well, it's no big deal.
No big deal. He says it twice, people. And the way that Tom and Toby look at him, that pause, knowing the party's involved now, it's just hard not to see this as a nod to the NBD bit from the leaks. The NBD thing was something Sony got dragged for. Whoever pitched this joke, the leaks must have been on their mind. So, did Sony intentionally leak the 8K blue screen footage of Andrew Garfield? Well, just to recap, the footage was super high quality and it was not watermarked. It had not been handed off to someone outside of the studio. Also, Sony did not rush to take down the footage and okayed Andrew Garfield to talk about it. Also, with Tom Holland in the 2014 hack, Sony began to embrace online leak culture, and Spider-Man No Way Home became Sony's highest grossing film, thanks largely to Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire's cameos. that people knew would be in the movie and had to go out and go see, despite how scary COVID was at the time. So coming back to that Kevin Feige quote, you need to make sure that the experience itself works regardless of what has been spoiled or not. These studios know that their movies will be spoiled, that leaks will happen. They want the reveals to be big enough and unmissable enough that people will go to cinemas to see it anyway. And with that one September 2021 leak of that blurry photo with Toby and Andrew on the scaffolding, at that point, you could say it was in Sony's best interest to seize control of the narrative and feed the hype. But I don't think we'll ever get a confession unless it's on someone's deathbed, because doing so would put someone in breach of contract. Like, I don't think Amy Pascal would do this, or even have access to footage like this. I do know that John Watts has a history of uploading shorts to YouTube, and he did put a lot of subtle jokes in Spider-Man Homecoming with Peter Parker's YouTube history. But you know what? All of this, circumstantial, folks, and let's be honest, conspiratorial. The truth is always more likely than not incompetence. But the bottom line is, leaks are sticky, and they embolden the victims of the leak to set the record straight with their own leaks. They don't always give in to that impulse, but they want to. And Sony, more than any other studio, loves to get sticky. And I guess apparently when it comes to NDAs, it's NBD. But what do you think? Did Sony do this? And what topic would you like me to investigate next? Subscribe to The Deep Dive and to all channels of the new Rockstars Network. You can follow me at Erik Voss, and I'll see you next time, my divers of the deep.